up, you guys? I'm working on the engine today, the Hemi engine. This is a 2006 pre-Eagle 5.7 liter Hemi that came out of a 300 C, Chrysler 300C. This is gonna be for my Dodge Dakota, my 1994 Dodge Dakota. Watch previous videos so you can get an idea of why I'm putting a Hemi in it rather than anything else. But anyway, putting new valve springs in it. These are the sorry, I wasn't prepared. The PAC racing drop-in valve springs for. I dropped them over the ground. For a 5.7/6.1 liter Hemi, like I said, pre-Eagle. These replaces the stock valve springs that have these goofy little cages on the side of them, on the bottom of them. And reason being is I'm putting a bigger camshaft in the engine, and these springs can't handle it because the coil's a little thicker, and they'll bind before it gets max lift on the camshaft. Even though the camshaft I got isn't that big when it comes to lift wise, but it definitely has quite a bit more duration. And I guess these have a higher spring rate, so they'll be able to handle the RPM. But anyway, I'll go ahead and show you how to do all this. First off, this is also part of the MDS delete system. Delete kit that turn the MDS system off or disable it completely, or just outright remove it. You have to do that if you want to run a big camshaft and or increase the reliability of these engines. Although there are a couple flaws on these engines that I kind of have addressed, but not really. So anyway, part of that is to replace the lifters and camshaft and all that. But the kit also comes with new valve seals, which are these things right here. They look like little they look like these things. Well, they are these things. They look like something you played Monopoly with, honestly. Anyway, stock ones right here, and these just go on top. Now, I'm not quite sure what the actual method is to get them out, but I just take a large pair of channel locks. Let me pull this valve out real quick, just so I could prevent damaging it. Put the head down. So I got the valve out, just so I don't have to worry about accidentally nicking the edge. Then I'm going to take the channel locks, grab a hold of the shaft part of the valve seal, kind of give it a little twisting motion, and pull up at the same time, and they literally pop right out. Put that in the garbage can. Now I'm going to take the new one, place it on top. I got a 23mm socket I'm going to place on top. Then I'm going to just tap it down with the hammer. Hopefully I can do this without holding on to it. Just got to be careful of this sealing surface right here for the valve cover. Anyway, let me go ahead and just... you're fully down because the sound will change, which I'm not fully down yet. There you go. And that's how we install that. And then when I reinstall the valve, I'm going to take a little bit of the assembly lube and put it just on the stem. That way when I pass the valve through the seal, I prevent damaging it. And then it's just installing the spring with the keepers and the retainer and locking it down, and that's it. I would show that, but I got this goofy tool which works, but it's not ideal. I can press it down most of the way with this, and I gotta like stand up and push down on it as I'm putting keepers on it, because it doesn't really reach down on top of the spring. It is more for like a little like 4-cylinder like Chevy S10 system. I have a better one somewhere, but I don't know where it is. They do sell a tool that will go across like two of these studs, and it'll push the springs down like that. that is the ideal way, but it's like $200, between $100 and $200, and for a one-time thing, I'm not going to bother buying something like that for. So, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much how you do the valve stem seals, and I guess technically installing the valve springs. Now, when I took the valve springs off, I just took an 18mm socket, put it down on top, and smacked it with the hammer with the rag underneath. And the keepers pop out, and because you got the socket on there, the socket keeps them from flying away. And it's the fastest way for me to think about doing it with the, because as you imagine, the stock springs with these gauges, I won't be able to use that tool at all. So anyway, that's gonna be the part into this part of the video. I'm probably gonna be able to go get the camshaft and everything reinstalled tonight, which if I do, I'll definitely put that into this clip. Regardless, yeah. So that's what's going to happen. By the next part of this video, it's going to be me installing the camshaft, the lifters, and maybe even the cylinder heads. And overall, I just got to finish putting the valve springs in them, blow out all the little dirt that came in with the compressed air, and slapping on back on the engine. So I'll see y'all when I do that. Alrighty, so part of doing the MDS stuff is putting these little caps in. Some people tell me you don't have to do that. You can just leave the solenoids in, just leave them unplugged. But kit comes with them, so I'm gonna use them. A previous video I showed you how, well, I explained how I got them out. They're not easy to get out. I ended up breaking them all, and I had to stick a drill screw in there to screw them out. But anyway, putting these caps on are relatively easy. There's a tight squeeze in there, but it is what it is. So I got a cap right here, and there's a couple O-rings on there, so I'm gonna take a little bit of assembly lube. You probably use motor oil. Turn the light on real quick. Put a drop on the O-rings, like so. So should be all that you need. And I'm gonna smear it around my finger. Try to do this one-handed. That should be good enough. Then I'm gonna align it in the hole. Place it in the hole, and I'm gonna align the little screw thing. Alright. Then I'm gonna take the socket, and I'm gonna hit it down with the hammer. Then I'm gonna take the screw, put a little bit of blue Loctite on it, just so I don't have to worry about the screw walking out. I don't know if it's necessary. I'm just tightening it down. There probably is a torque spec for those. I don't know it, but I'm using a 1/4-inch ratchet, so you know, maybe like 10 foot-pounds is probably all it is. Realistically, it's probably measured in inch-pounds, but I don't know. I'm just snuggling it down nice and tight and just letting Loctite do its job. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Alrighty guys, so I'm getting ready to, actually let me reverse that real quick. I got the MDS block-off things installed. Like I say, you put them in and kind of tap them in with the socket and the hammer, and they go in. Make sure you lube up the O-rings. And now, I think I'm getting ready to put the camshaft in. I got it right here. I'll move that out of the way. I'll talk about that in a second. It's a CompCams 112-502-11. So it's this is a cam card sheet for those who are curious. It's a pretty mild cam. I mean, obviously, it's a big upgrade from the stock cam. I think the real main thing on this cam is that definitely has a bit more valve lift, but the big thing is the duration. It's a lot higher. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I forget what. I mean, obviously the cam card says everything about the cam, but it definitely has a lot more duration than the stock cam with a little bit more lift. It is on 114 lobe separation, so it might not sound as choppy as a 318 did, but it would still sound pretty aggressive. Probably like a stock 6.1, maybe a little bit more hotter than that. So it'll still have a nice lopey sound. It'll just be a little more tame, which is fine. The 114 lobe separation would benefit higher RPM as opposed to a tighter separation angle, theoretically. This cam is rated for 2,000 to 62,000 RPMs. 2,000 to 6,200 RPMs, I'm sorry. So the rev limit on this engine should be right around 65, 68,000 RPMs. That's probably what I'm going to set it at. Probably could go higher if I put a billet assembly down in there, but I'm not doing all that. But yeah, so I'll definitely be able to run a little more RPM with this. And should be good all-around street cam. And if I decide I want to put a turbo or a supercharger on this engine, which I may not actually do, more than likely not. But if I did, this should be suitable for that. Unlike the Magnums, the Hemi camshaft, the cam bolt rather, is torque to yield, so you do have to buy a new bolt. And the torque spec on this is kind of ridiculous. It's 90 foot-pounds. So, yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of making me nervous is torquing this little thing down. But installing a camshaft is relatively easy. Lube the whole thing up with assembly lube, moly lube or whatnot, and you just kind of gently put it in. Just make sure you don't hit the cam bearings. You don't want to mess those up. Pretty much put it into his ollie again. Then the little cam plate you put back on, and you put these in. Probably put a little Loctite on these and torque them down. Then you put the chain drive on, and you should be all set. But I may not put the chain drive on yet because reasons. But I may want to put the camshaft in. That way you can put the rock lifters in. Then put the cylinder heads on. That way I can seal up this motor. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, I'll get the cam mostly in there. Probably just sticking out a little bit. That way I kind of show you a little bit. So, I'll go ahead and do that. And be right back to you. Alrighty, so I got the camshaft mostly in. I have it up to the second bearing journal. As you see, I stuck a old cylinder head bolt in it, just so I could give it support to put it in. Now this thread pitch is different from the after cam bolt, so you gotta be extremely careful doing it this way. I would suggest just getting a bolt that is the correct thread pitch. That way you can kind of hold it. They do make tools for this, but in my opinion, they're kind of expensive. So, yeah. So now I'm just going to grab a hold and be very gentle. Like that. This camshaft is actually a little bit heavier than the stock cam, believe it or not. Might need... There we go. And it will just fit right in there. So, that's how you install one of the camshafts. So, and just unthread this. And I'm gonna find the cam gear, that way I kind of rotate it around because it's not seated in there all the way. So, yeah. Alright, well, it's much later than I thought, and I finally got the camshaft in. It was kind of a crap show. Keep it PG in here. But I was putting the new camshaft in, and it went in most of the way and got stuck. I'm like, okay. So, you know, I'm trying to figure all that out. I tried throwing the stock camshaft in, got stuck again. And I finally get this one to go in, but when it got in, it bound up real bad, and it wouldn't turn. I tried turning it with this, and breaking shearing the dowel off. I was like, oh no. But so what I ended up having to do, I finally got the camshaft out. I used this with the old camshaft bolt to kind of pull this out like a puller, because it was that tight. Then I'm taking my jack handle over there and going through the engine to pop this cam plug out. And I found out that this back cam bearing had a burr on it, and I just took some sandpaper and sanded it down. Now that means when I get this running, I'm gonna have to like run it for like 10 minutes maybe, drain the oil out, get back out, change the oil filter again, and fill it up with oil, which is something I was going to do anyway, but I definitely have to do that because there's definitely some debris possibly in there. When I change the oil pan out, I might spray with a little bit of brake cleaner, just kind of nip that in the bud. But anyway, I got the debris out. The camshaft went in, spins no problem. I have re-RTV this cap and plug it back in. I didn't damage on the way out. It's not that tight in there. And the dowel, I drill it out as much as I can. I try pulling the dowel out from the stock camshaft, but that wasn't coming out, so I'm having to modify a bolt to do it, to hold it in. Now fortunately, this is merely just to keep the gear and camshaft with each other, the tension of the bolts, and the clearance of this, because this is kind of a tight fit. Is what actually turns the camshaft. And even then, this bolt is like in there quite a bit. This bolt's from like an old Chevy oil pan, so I got Chevy parts in the fucking Mopar again. Anyway, now I just gotta pull these two bolts out, put some tight on them, torque them down. I gotta look up the torque spec for that. Then I can throw the timing chain on it. Well, honestly, I'll probably do that later because I may change out the timing chain. And I gotta clean all that off on the shavings from the drill. But I finally got it in. I can throw this on, and I can spin the camshaft by hand with little resistance. So I definitely got that fixed. I gotta make sure that's in time again. And I was gonna throw the lifters in, but I'm probably gonna wait till tomorrow because I was not expecting that to be that big of a fight. But I'm glad I finally got it fixed. Because of that burr, I probably have to run it. There's probably a little bit more extra clearance on that bearing as opposed to the others. Probably should have that replaced, but I'm not going to. So instead of running the 520, I might run 530 in this thing. Just kind of give it that little extra protection. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. Tomorrow, like I said, I'll probably throw the lifters in. Fortunately, those are not going to be nowhere near as bit hard to do. Then I'll throw the heads on and drop the oil pan. So I got a new oil pan sitting in there, the rear sump pan. But also when I replace the oil pan, right here, I had to pop that plug out that way I can stick the dipstick in. It looks like I'll be able to use the dipstick that came with this engine. So that saves me like 20 bucks right there. I just have to probably modify, build a bracket for the dipstick to bolt onto the engine. Whew. I was going to film all that, but I decided not to because it looked like I was figuring it out as I go. But I'm glad I got something that'll work. I'm not worried about that. This is only like in there a little bit. I'm going to probably tap it in there just to make sure it's in there. But the bolt will keep since it covers that entire slot, I'm not worried about that falling out. I'm not even worried about shearing off because there's not a lot. It's going to be a bit of tension on it, but not enough to where I'm worried about anything failing. That bolt's probably nowhere near as, probably a little bit softer than the thing that came out of it. So, oh my goodness, that was a fight. I don't know what's with me. Every single motor I've tried to build has something going on with the cam bearings. The first small block Chevy I tried to build, the cam bearings were just completely shot. The 350 I was trying to build for the Vortex 350 I was trying to build for the wagon, that had, I think, one or two of the cam bearings that were kind of questionable. The 318 blew up because the cam bearing lock got clogged up with oil, got clogged up with metal from the camshaft failing. Now this one I had to burr on that camshaft, that cam bearing, probably from idle time on these, because that's big kill these Hemis is idling them for too long. Anyway, this rambling is going to get too far, too long. Just going to go ahead and clean up a little bit, and I'll be back tomorrow to put the lifters in and throw the cylinder heads on, because I still got to clean up this gasket service too. Fortunately, I got some rubbing alcohol. It's relatively smooth, so it's just getting the grease off of it, especially on that side, and dropping the cylinder heads off and torquing them down. Alright guys, so it's the next day. When I left off, I put the camshaft in. I had a bit of problems with one of the cam bearings having a burr on it. I had to go in there and grind down a little bit. Not too worried about any of the debris getting to the oil pan, because this oil pan is going to be changed out anyway. Same thing with the windows tray. So, whatever. And I also got the cam retainer plate / chain tensioner back on. I believe these bolts were 90 inch-pounds. Still felt a little loose to me, so I just kind of went in there didn't let another core return. I did put blue Loctite on them. But anyway, now I'm getting ready to put the lifters in. These are non-MDS lifters from AMS Racing. Yeah, AMS Racing. These are their lifters, and they come with the new retainer plates / lifter guides. Comes with new bolt, and of course the lifters. And so now I'm getting ready to pull those in. Traditionally, what you would do is you take the lifters, clean them up with a little bit of acetone or whatnot, and dunk them in oil and let them sit in the oil thing for a given amount of time. But on the box, this one literally says not to do that. So that's another thing I've done with the Magnum, is I just kind of lubed up the lifters with a little bit of oil. Well, in my case, assembly lube, and just kind of threw them in there. When I get ready to fire this engine up for the first time, I'm probably going to disconnect either the coils or the coils and at least I'll disconnect the injectors and let it run on the starter to kind of build up a little bit of oil pressure. That will pump these lifters up, and then after about 30 seconds of that, then I'll plug the injectors back in and actually fire it up, and it should be set by then. But anyway, I'm getting ready to do that. Like I said, you're just gonna. Sometimes these are labeled. This one isn't, and it looks like it'll pretty much fit pretty much anywhere. This kit is specific for the pre-Eagle 2003 to 2008 5761 Hemis. The newer ones, the Eagle engines, which I believe are 2009 to current. I think the kit's slightly different because they got variable valve timing and all that on all those engines. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. Let's drop these in, and after that, I'm going to clean up this gasket surface on both the block and the cylinder heads. That way I can start throwing the cylinder heads on. And that'll pretty much be the end of the video. I'm going to buy a new timing chain. I've decided I'm just going to replace the timing chain because it's cheap insurance. I think it's only like $10. Though I might get the entire timing chain set, I'm not sure. Because gears look fine, but the timing chain could be replaced. It wouldn't hurt. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got the lifters in. They went in pretty easily. These do get tightened to like 6 foot-pounds. I just tightened it down with the 1/4-inch ratchet, snug plus a little bit. And I hit it with a little bit of blue Loctite to make sure they don't come out. Even then, I believe the surface of the head will pretty much keep these from going anywhere. So, yeah. Anyway, now I'm getting ready to take just some rubbing alcohol. I got some 91% stuff right here, and I'm going to use that to just quickly go over the gasket surface. I'm going to vacuum some of this out too, and quickly go over the gasket surface, get any coolant, dirt, oil, especially right here, a little bit of oil right there, off that surface. I'm going to do the same thing with the cylinder heads. Then I'm going to stick the gaskets on here and torque the heads down. Heads get torqued down to 45 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. You got to do it in 2 steps. So it's going to be 25, I believe, then 45. Then once you get all that done, you torque them to you put another 90 degrees on the bolt. It's relatively easy. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to use a big breaker bar to put the extra 90 degrees in there because my torque wrench is not big. I mean, it's plenty strong enough to put 45 foot-pounds on the bolts, but my bigger breaker bar is a little bit bigger, so I'll be able to use that to put the extra 95 pounds on there. Oh, extra for 90 degrees. The top ones are torqued differently. I'm going to do those last, just because the main 2, 4, 6, 8. The main 10 bolts are what really hold the cylinder head on. These are there just to kind of seal up this whole top portion, especially around the water jacket and the lifter valley. I had to look up those torque specs, but these bolts are torqued to yield, so you do have to replace them. You can only use them once. Same thing with the camshaft bolt. Kit I got, like I said, is from AMS Racing. It comes with new head bolts. So, yeah. I believe these just get oil on the threads and on the heads. I got some Molly lube I'm probably going to use, to be honest. And I believe all these head holes are blind, as in they don't go into a water jacket, very much like the Magnums. So you don't have to worry about putting a seal or anything on them. I'm going to stick a screwdriver in there just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure these are all blind holes. And looks like a lot of these top holes right here for these bolts are through holes. These ones by the MDS solenoids are. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that done. And I'll be right back when I get ready to torque the heads down. Alright, so I got the head placed on. I got the bolts, the main bolts running down. Only got one of the 10 mils on top, just on there, so because when I put the head on, I had that there to hold the head so it didn't fall on the floor and crack my tile and or break the head. In case you're wondering about the head gaskets I'm using, they came in a kit. That was the remain seal that just followed. They're engine tech gaskets, which are, pretty good. And they are OEM spec MLS. They do have a little thing stamped top on them. So those obviously face top. And just kind of stick them on there. You clean the surface up, stick them on there, kind of give those a little dust down too, because you're going to get your hands on it. You clean up the gasket surface on the head itself, pop it on, and there you go. They do tend to fit a little tight around the dowels, so they are kind of hard to fight. But so that's what I did, and kind of see the little brass rivets that hold it on. It's pretty cool. It looks nice. But anyway, I just got these hand tight. I'm getting ready to run down. First step is going to be 25 foot-pounds. Going to start from the middle and you work your way out. I'm pretty sure there is an actual torque sequence to go through. I'm just going to use the generic up, down, left, right, diagonal type deal. And I'm going to do the 10 main bolts first. Then I'm going to come back and do the secondary 10 mils on top. Which that is you do the center, then work your way out. Same situation with the rockers. You would start in the middle, then you kind of work your way out. So that's how I'm going to do that. Matter of fact, I might do all of those bolts at the same time, kind of work back and forth like that on top. That might work a little better for me. I just got to look up the torque spec on these because I'm not exactly sure. I know it's a lot less than these. But anyway, first round, 25 foot-pounds on these. Then second round, it's going to be 45 foot-pounds. Then third round, it's going to be 90 degrees from that. So anyway, let me get that done. And I'm going to do the other side off camera. Then I'm going to come back and let you know about the torque spec on these bolts, and I'll get those done, and I'm pretty much done for today. I was thinking about putting the rocker arms and push rods in, but I'm going to probably wait till after I get the timing chain set up. That way I can verify everything's running smoothly and there's no issues. So anyway, I'm going to come back and let you know how everything's going. Alrighty, so I got the main bolts torqued down. Like I said, it's 25 foot-pounds for the first pass, 45 foot-pounds for the second pass, 90 degrees on the third pass. And you go in the proper sequence, which I was just looking at the spec, and I am pretty much spot on with how the torque sequence is. It's up, down, left, right, and around. So next, I'm going to do the 10 mils up top. My only problem is I don't have a 10 mil half-inch drive socket, and I don't have a 3/8 drive foot-pound torque wrench. I got an inch-pound one, and yeah, I guess theoretically I can make the calculations to get it right, but I'm just going to use my 3/8 drive ratchet and just kind of go. Sequence on these are 15 pounds for the first pass, 25 pounds for the second pass, so pretty much snug. Then just a little bit past that, that's the sequence on that. So I'm going to go ahead and knock those out real quick. I'll get the second head on, and that'll be the end of the video. So I'll see y'all once I get the other head on, and I'll recap what has happened. So see y'all. Alrighty, so I got both heads torqued down and tightened up. What I did about these, because like I said, I don't have a 10 mil half-inch drive, nor do I have a 3/8 drive torque wrench. So what I did was I just ran them down with the hand tight setting on the impact, just to get them seated. Then I did a quarter turn for the first pass, and then another quarter turn for the second pass, and that, I believe, did the trick. But anyway, the head's all installed. Later on, I'll put the timing chain and gear set on. And I can put the front cover in after that and drop the oil pan. I put the push rods and rocker shafts on, put the valve covers on. I'm going to leave the intake off for now because I'm going to buy one of those lift plates they bolt onto here. That way you can lift the vehicle engine into the vehicle. Motion Works has one for it. It's kind of high, it's like $100, but I think it'd be worth it. Like I said, I gotta change the oil pan out. Gotta get the exhaust manifold still, because I'm not using the stock ones, because those crack and they break the bolts, which this engine had a broken bolt in it. I want to get the nice little stainless steel manifolds they get for these, unless somehow I could swing the long tubes, but that's probably not going to happen because they're like $900, where the manifold's only $300, which is still kind of high, but I could probably deal with it. And yeah, then after that, throttle body for the intake, because I'm going to use the traditional throttle body. I'm not going to try to modify the stock one to work with the cable. Yeah, this thing's coming along pretty nicely. Like I said, I had a little scare with the camshaft, but I got that all figured out, so should be alright with that. Just because since I had to clearance that bearing a little bit, I might have to run just slightly thicker oil to just kind of make up for it. Instead of running a 5W20, I'm probably going to run 530 in this. Full synthetic, of course, but I think when I first get this thing running, it's going to get the basic conventional oil, just to get all the stuff out of the oiling system. drop the oil, change the filter, put new oil, the new full synthetic in there with the new oil filter, and I think I should be golden. Anyway, that's what I'm going to leave off for now. I'll see y'all next episode, which is probably going to be putting the timing chain set back on, the front cover, and the valve covers, and rocker shafts and push rods. And maybe even the water pump and the power steering pump. And yeah. So I'll see y'all next episode.